Ladies and gentlemen, we got a crazy show for you today. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. We got the pipe bomber. We knew it was a hoax the whole time that they set us up. Candace Owens has now responded to Turning Point USA, and it may actually be a debate. And I don't know who they're going to pick to debate Candace Owens. Stephen A. Smith goes on A View, and I cannot wait to tell you guys about this. Welcome to the Untitled Show.
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning big, you might as well go home today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hey, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also have the YouTube channel, The Untitled Show. Subscribe to that as well. The Substack. Subscribe to all those things. And if you want to send me a message, all you got to do is send me a message at brandon@freedomchat.com, brandon@freedomchat.com. But don't forget to download Freedom Chat. It's the only place where you can send encrypted messages end-to-end encryption, and also follow me on there. I respond to everybody on there because it's still small at this point. When it get to millions of people, I may not be able to respond to everybody, but I will respond to you guys on there. I want to give a shout out to TBN. I'm at the studio right here. And if you guys could see how crazy beautiful this studio is, shout out to Eric Steckelback. I went on his show probably 5 or 6 times. What an amazing guy. Make sure y'all go and follow his show. I think it's Steckelback tonight. So go ahead and check it out. Let's get to this crazy stuff that's going on. Let's start with the pipe bomber. We knew that the whole January 6th thing was a hill of beans. We knew that they were going to set people up. Me and my wife, and I tell this story every single time, me and my wife had an opportunity to go down there for January 6th, and I said, baby, we're not going down there. Ain't no way in the world we're going to go down there because they're going to do something, and it's going to make us all look bad, and they're going to set us up, and they're going to blame Trump. And that's exactly what they did. But now, last week or a few weeks ago, we had the young lady that I think she actually worked for Secret Service, not Secret Service, but she worked for Capitol Police or something of that nature. And they caught her allegedly dropping a pipe bomb, which they ended up staging. But now they found another guy, Brian Cole, 30-year-old man. Let's go to the Fox News clip real quick so we can see exactly some of the news that's being reported. Roll the clip.
Says it's now captured the person they believe placed pipe bombs outside both the RNC and DNC headquarters in Washington. This was the night before the U.S. Capitol was attacked about 5 years ago. David Spunt, working his sources, got more now for us in Washington. And David, hello to you.
Hello, this is a big deal, Bill and Dana. It happened January 5th, 2021. A mysterious person covered from head to toe placed pipe bombs outside both the Democratic National Committee and Republican National Committee here in our nation's capital. We don't know the suspect's name or anything about this person other than the fact this is a male that was living in Northern Virginia, arrested at some point within the last 90 minutes, now in federal custody. I'm told we'll know more as the day moves on, and as soon as we have the information, of course, we will break in with that. But just this past October, a couple of months ago, the FBI put out this enhanced video and pictures of the masked suspect planning pipe bombs near a bench outside the DNC in Washington on January 5th, 2021, the night before the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The suspect then placed the same type of bomb outside the RNC minutes later. The suspect, as I said, wore a face mask, hooded sweatshirt, glasses, gloves. But using FBI technology, agents told the public the suspect they believe is around 5'7". We'll see, Bill, if that rings true once we get an identity later today. Agents say the two bombs were placed between 7:30 and 8:30 at night. The bombs did not detonate, but this is important. They were viable. They could have hurt people. They could have killed people. Those bombs were discovered the next day. Over the past 4 years, agents visited 1,200 homes and businesses, conducted more than 1,000 interviews, reviewed approximately 39,000 video files, went through 600 tips. It's notable the reward, Bill and Dana, was $500,000, $500,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of this person. It's unclear if perhaps a public tip came forward and prompted the FBI to arrest this person.
Now think about this for a minute. After all that FBI, after all the FBI investigating that they did under Joe Biden's administration, how in the world did they not find any of this stuff out? Why is it that during the Trump administration, his second term, that somehow we're getting some information about who was responsible for planting those bombs. Why? Now we know, I know why, but they're trying to deceive us. It's very, very clear that the reason that they hid that information because they didn't want you to know it was a setup. These people set this stuff up. How in the world are, our FBI agents going to know that this was going to happen, allegedly? They infiltrated the group. So that's, for instance, if there was going to be a shooting at a particular mall, right? Tell me how crazy it is if the FBI knew, they didn't stop it, they didn't deter it, they didn't reinforce the perimeter, they let it happen. After it happened, then they come out and start arresting people. That's the dumbest, craziest thing on planet Earth. If you knew it was going to happen, why didn't y'all just stop it? If you can put 200 agents or how many other agents that they had assigned to this particular incident, why didn't y'all guys deter them from going into the building? They let it happen because they wanted Trump to look bad. This whole argument about the deep state thing is not a myth. It's not somebody being super spooky. It's literally people are in place and they're gearing things in a direction to make Donald Trump look bad, make conservatives look bad, so they can have talking points. It's almost the same thing with Pete Hegseth. I may not be able to get to it today on the show, but I feel like that instead of them doing their doggone job, instead of them acting on behalf in the good interest for the American people, they are just doing silly stuff to win on either side. And it's crazy that we have to go through this and we can't just fire everybody at one time, to be quite honest. But let's get to a couple other clips. We got 202 and 203. Let's roll 202.
There is a suspect that is in custody for the pipe bombs that were placed at the DNC and I think the RNC, both on January 6th, the night before January 6th. This is a photograph that they have here. Now, this is 5 years on.
Yeah.
So what do you think the break in the case might have been?
It's really hard to say, but whatever it was, you're going to have these questions of why now? What's been going on for the last 5 years? Now, unless you have something where somebody came forward or something else broke and they got some evidence that they didn't have, you're going to say, were they pressing all along here? Why now? We both know this is going to be heavily politicized, right? Because it's on the eve of J6. Is it tied to J6, et cetera? The thing that I find interesting is that there's reporting out there over the last couple of weeks, and it was rumored online, so a lot of us didn't give it too much credit because it wasn't corroborated yet, but that they had identified this person through the gate. That is the way the person walked. That technology has come a long way, never mind with the AI overlay. And that kind of a thing, maybe it's not enough to say I got probable cause, but it's a pointer. I'm looking to see if it's that or if it was some other mechanism, but this will be
very interesting. We were making the comment with David Spunce reporting earlier this hour that it seems to me, and I don't want to speak for Dana, but you had to get a tip from someone.
Yeah.
Because the identity of this person is well conceived.
Yeah.
So maybe identify the hood, maybe the backpack, maybe there's something else on that.
Yeah, there was a lot done apparently with the sneakers. The sneakers were relatively rare as these things go, and so they did a deep dive. I just happened to notice about the sneakers and if they were sold in the Washington, D.C. area. And you can backtrack a lot. We had a case one time we found somebody in Hawaii relative to a backpack that he had bought. So you can do this kind of stuff if you have the investigatory muscle. Maybe it takes a long time. Maybe the sneakers end up being a break. We'll have to see. But fascinating that after 5 years, this is a big win. Let's see if it holds up. You got to make sure that you got the right person, innocent until proven guilty. But if they have nailed this 5 years on, after all the speculation and the political machinations, this is a big win for them.
Now, I said that already, so maybe I'm a genius. They're saying that on television, and I think that we all can understand this. It's very interesting that why all of a sudden this is coming out now. But the bigger question here, which is what frustrates me to no end on some of these things, is that will people be prosecuted for this stuff? Is somebody going to go to jail? Are people going to finally get justice? Because this is a bigger, more in-depth conspiracy. And our last clip, I think, explains it the best. And let's roll that last clip.
Kamala Harris has not made any comments about this. You would think that someone who was 20 feet away from being obliterated by a pipe bomb would be grateful that you hear the news that the J6 pipe bomber was apprehended. Where is that like, oh, thank God, my life was on the line there. Also, nothing from any of the January 6th committee members. You would think they would be so happy today. Why are the Democrats not applauding this? I don't understand. They seem, according to them, January 6th was like Pearl Harbor. It was like 9/11. This is like getting Osama bin Laden. If you believe that January 6th was akin to 9/11 or equal to Pearl Harbor, wouldn't you be out here celebrating that we got bin Laden or dropped the bomb on Nagasaki? Where is the celebration from the Democrats? I don't understand. Why are they not so happy that this happened? We all know why. It's because this entire thing was an inside job.
There you go. There you go, right there. Unless you a slew-footed idiot, Stevie Wonder can see that this was the inside job. How do you not see that it's an inside job? The people, in my opinion, are willfully being ignorant. The Democrats literally compared January 6th to 9/11. I got the video. We'll put it up in post-production if you don't believe me. Put some money on it. They came out and was acting like this was the worst thing since 9/11. You go on campus and talk to these slew-headed or stew-headed kids that's in there just blowing their money. They might as well set their money on fire. Set your bank account and everything on fire. They at school not learning nothing. You ask them which one was worse, and they literally said January 6th is worse, and nobody got killed on January 6th. There's some people that died later that was not directly involved, except for Ashley Babbitt. That was the only person that died, and I think that the officer that shot her, or the person that shot her, should go to jail. You shot her in the neck. You could have just pushed her out the window. You could have slapped her, and she'd have fell out the window. You shot and killed her when nobody else had a gun out. Capitol Police was standing right next to her. Then you had the SWAT team coming up the staircase. Nobody fired nothing. But this fool decided to kill her. I have to talk about Candace Owens. And y'all know I love Candace. She's a friend of mine. Y'all know how I feel about certain things she say. You know how she feel about certain things I say. I feel like I always have to preface this because I don't know if people get it. You can disagree with somebody and you don't have to necessarily hate that person. But before I get to the Candace Owens debate with Turning Point USA, and I have a lot to talk about there, I want to talk about Stephen A. Smith going on The View. The cackling hens on The View brought Stephen A. on. Is he writing a book? Is there a cold day in hell that they decided to have Stephen A. Smith on their show? And I don't know why, to be honest, I don't know why they got all this Christmas stuff on there because they all devils. Just play the clip. Let's see what Stephen A. had to say. Did he back down or did Stephen A. do Stephen A.? Roll the clip.
Let me just remind you that Pete Hegseth said in 2016, I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that.
Time out. The fact that this woman, Lord help me, I'm in a beautiful studio. Let me not get crazy up in here. The fact that people are floating around a concept of war crimes. They didn't say nothing when Barack Obama was drone striking people to smithereens. They said nothing when he was the deporter in chief and doing all kinds, and they didn't say nothing. The View didn't say nothing. And now you got folk trying to bring drugs in our country, which drugs and fentanyl and all these things have killed more people than we've seen death in war. And y'all acting like it's a war crime. We should be celebrating at the fact that we're deterring terrorists from bringing drugs into our country and all kind of other nefarious things. This is a war against America, and y'all crying about a boat getting blown up. If you don't push the drugs over the water, you don't turn into smithereens. Let her finish. Roll it.
Terry said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. Okay. Now, given the fact that the secretary himself said that,
you know they got a sign up
there.
there.
I want to give you the opportunity to perhaps change your position on what you said.
I'm not changing a thing.
Okay.
I didn't stutter when I said it.
You want to stay loud and wrong?
Well, you could call it loud and wrong all you want to. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine.
Okay.
Here's the reality of the situation.
There you go.
First of all, I don't give a damn what Pete Hegseth has to say because I will tell you right now, he was never qualified for the job. When you talk about DEI and eradicating that, excuse me, what was he doing hosting Fox News on the weekend and all of a sudden he's the defense secretary? Please give me a break. I don't care what he has to say.
How long, Stephen A.? I thought I was going with you on there. Hold on, pause him. I thought I was going with you there. Stephen A. Smith, somebody hosting Fox News, and they served in the military. Pete Hegseth served in the military. He's seen combat. You cannot say he's not qualified. Therefore, you could say these people that have been running our country are not qualified. I think you have to have a good business acumen to be qualified to run the country as the president of the United States of America. Barack Obama did none of that. Joe Biden did none of that. His son was smoking crack on prostitutes, and y'all acting like he was qualified. Kamala Harris definitely wasn't qualified. What was she doing? Now, I'm in here. Y'all, my audience know what I would say about horizontal to go vertical, but I'm not going to say that here because I don't want nobody to get in trouble. But Kamala Harris wasn't qualified to run the country. I don't know why people don't understand this. Qualifications for certain appointed jobs are not necessarily based on some experience on a piece of paper. It's about leadership. Pete Hegseth is not going to war. He's not fighting any wars. It's can he lead in his position to get people in place to execute the things that need to get done. That's more of a qualification than somebody looking at a resume because somebody went to the university and got gender studies, biracial trans degrees. That don't mean nothing on a piece of paper if you don't have no common sense. There's people, some of the most wealthy people in the world didn't go to college. Our good friend, rest his soul, Charlie Kirk was one of the most brilliant people that I know, and he didn't go to college. So because he didn't have college, a degree on his resume or a master's degree or a doctorate, that mean that he's not qualified to do the things he did and change the world? Shut the front door. Last time I said Moses couldn't talk that good. It's probably why they were in the wilderness so long. But Moses couldn't talk that good. King David, you know, he was whooping them, but he had a problem with women. You say King David not qualified to be in the Bible, a man after God's own heart. So give me a break with that qualification stuff. Stephen A., we're gonna have to talk about this one, but I want to hear what else you got to say. Roll the clip.
What I was talking about is military. What I did was get on the phone with family and friends who have served in the military. And I said, we're not civilians. This is not the court of law. You can be implicated for implying something if you are a former military member or you are a present military member. It wasn't what Mark Kelly said. It's the fact that he was a combat Navy pilot who served in the military who would tell folks, ignore an order when it could get them in the war. I said illegal. I said illegal. I'm talking about legal. I understand that.
He said you don't have to follow an unlawful order, and that is in the military code of conduct.
And I'm saying to you, hold on.
Hold on. Let me jump in here. That's like somebody coming to my house and saying, you don't have to listen to your dad tell you something that you disagree with. You don't have to listen to your dad tell you X, Y, Z. First of all, by saying that is implying that I'm telling my kids something wrong to start with. And for you to say you don't have to listen if it's an unlawful order, you're implying that there's unlawful orders given. It's not an impartial conversation that you're saying. You're going to get, now, who is going to determine if it's unlawful or not? That's the question. The things that Donald Trump is doing is not on the books as being unlawful. These are things that Congress and the Supreme Court have to dive into and have communication about to determine if this is legitimate or not. It's like executive orders. Sometimes there's ambiguity in executive orders. And if the courts, which we serve, we are in a country where there's co-equal branches of government, if the Supreme Court says, according to case law, according to precedent, this is not justifiable in the reading of the law, then therefore you can say it's unlawful. But if the president is doing things in good faith that's maybe ambiguous, it's up to the other branches of government to check and balance that. You can't just make an assumption and say, don't listen to unlawful orders as if he's doing that. And there's no unlawful order. I put that on everything I love. That not one code, not one law, they're going to mention on this show that Donald Trump violated. Maybe they will. I'll admit if I'm wrong. Roll the clip.
Which I'm aware of.
But it didn't sound like you were aware of that.
Well, no. I disagree with you.
Stephen, can I ask you a question?
I had two governors, by the way, text me to tell me I was wrong, and they agree with you.
You are wrong.
I had two senators that reached out to me and said, you weren't wrong at all.
Well, Mikey Sherrill did say that the reason they felt the need to put that out is they were constantly being approached by people in the military saying, we're being put in really uncomfortable situations. But that to me is a little more relatable when you're a veteran yourself.
But I'm saying let me say this real quick.
You got to do real quick. Or wait till we come back.
All I'm saying is this. If you're a member of the military, I'm looking at the soldiers as saying, don't get yourself in trouble. Let somebody else do it. Don't you do it because it ain't going to work for you.
But you get
Sorry, that was Alyssa Slotkin, not Mikey Sherrill.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Now, I don't know if Whoopi Goldturds said anything, but let's just put it in perspective. When do you make the decision that you ain't gonna do something that the commander-in-chief told you to do? How does that play out? If you are ordered to do a strike on a boat that's a threat to America, you say, I'm big bad, I can do what I want to do because I like the Democrats, and you just don't execute that order. Come to find out that it's right. Come to find out that it was a legal order given to you. Your career is done. You may go to jail. And if you somehow are in the air flying a fighter jet and you don't execute what they told you to do, and then the boat makes it to America and people die as a result, you're going to be held accountable for it. Unless Donald Trump said, take somebody around the corner and behead them, that's a different story. If he's executing a war, he's the one that takes the fall for it, not you. How many times did we see somebody get on TV? I got to get to Candace Owens. How many times do we see somebody get on TV and say, when they ask you to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, you say, I ain't seen weapons of mass destruction. I ain't going over there. Wait, so where's The View talk about that? When do they talk about that? When does The View or any of these cackling hens get on here and talk about the fact that people are committing crimes and they're getting let out the next day in many of these major cities? When are you calling out the prosecution? When are you calling out the judge for unlawfully allowing people to enter or to stay on the streets when they should be in prison forever? And they broke the law, though. When are y'all going to talk about the unlawful entry into our country? But when Donald Trump do something, y'all try to make it a big deal. Y'all going to get people in the military fired. You're going to get them prosecuted. You're going to get people hurt. You listen to the commander-in-chief. And to me, there's nothing overtly that he's telling people to do that's against the law. Why is that a hard thing to do? All right, let's see. We got some more clips on that. Let's go to the next Stephen A. clip. I got to be quick.
You got to pay attention to Gavin Newsom. He's gaining some traction. I don't think he'll win, but he's gaining traction.
Why not?
Because I think that ultimately they'll look at the state of California, look at affordability, look at homelessness, look at crime, and they'll say, hello, highest cost of living in the country. They'll be like, what? Wait a minute now. So I think that'll be a problem for him, but he's articulate enough to defend himself, and we'll see what happens with that.
We're back with Stephen A. Smith. You were about to disagree.
I was disagreeing with this. As a Democrat, the bottom line is this. When we talk about poor people, who ain't thinking about poor people? Democratic Party, I know I do. I know that most candidates within the Democratic Party that I know they think about poor folks. I know they think about the desolate and the disenfranchised. I get that. But what I'm saying is that during the campaign, were you doing what it takes to win? You had too many people going after him for stuff that wasn't going to stick. It wasn't going to influence his voters. So what I would say to you, Whoopi, and what I would say to anybody that doesn't want J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody like that to succeed him, focus on what's going to win.
Yeah.
That's where my sports background comes in. Tell me what's going to win. I don't want to hear, but I understand the LGBTQ community is important. I understand that the desolate and disenfranchised is somebody we should always be looking out for. I understand the economy. I understand immigration. I get all of that. But the point is, I'm trying to win to make sure that I'm in office and you're not. What is it going to take? The Democrats did not do that last time. And that's what happens.
What is the winning issue now?
Affordability and safety.
Yes.
Period. Affordability and safety in the streets of the United States. And a willingness to cross the aisle and show that you're willing to work with people to get stuff done so we don't have this chaos just because we disagree.
I think that the Democrats try harder than the Republicans to do that.
Well,
really?
You're a liar.
I don't
You're
know
lying.
about that.
Here's what we do know.
Hold on. All right, I got to get to Candace Owens. She lying. She don't know what she's talking about. The Democrats do this morning. What do you mean? They tried to put Donald Trump in jail almost every waking moment. And what happened to him? He didn't even get community service. Y'all know y'all going. And then the people who prosecuted him, they getting prosecuted. Letitia James and them, they going to jail. Fannie can't keep her hands to herself. She got the dude she's sleeping with doing the investigation against Trump. Now she in trouble. Y'all got crooked people doing crooked stuff. And all right, let's get to Candace Owens before I run out of time. So Candace Owens, now let me just say this. I'm going to stay out of this. I'm just reporting on the news. I'm not saying nothing on no side. And the reason that I'm going to stay out of this because Turning Point has responded
My friends have had to endure harassment from people who have gotten whipped up by what Candace is saying. In fact, I would say we have suffered more harassment from these people than we have from Antifa supporters who overtly celebrate Charlie's murder. And just like a lot of those Antifa members, many of these people take this delight in how gross and unpleasant they can be. What our friends have had to endure is not funny, and it's not insignificant. It is evil. I have seen it. For months, we have received hundreds, thousands, I suspect, emails and calls asking us to respond. People have wanted us to invite Candace on the show, but for a long time, our approach was to say nothing. We did that for several reasons. First, we thought that her prevarications were so absurd that nobody would believe them. We shouldn't have to answer questions about secret tunnels or Egyptian Air Force planes. That sort of thing is just, it's beneath contempt to respond to. The second reason we've said so little, though, is because there's a good rule of thumb, which Charlie followed. Do not feed the trolls. Focus on the mission. Reviving America, uplifting young people, making heaven crowded. Don't give air to people who want to tear you down and sow discord. Lastly, we didn't respond because Charlie always viewed Candace as a friend, and we were holding out hope that she would return that friendship and stop what she was doing. But a week from now, it's going to be 3 months since Charlie's murder. Candace has not changed her behavior. She has continued to spread falsehoods about Charlie's friends, and she continues to concoct new ones about new people. She's using these falsehoods to enrich herself while dividing the conservative movement at an absolutely critical time for this country. And far too often, we here have heard from ordinary people, people who loved Charlie and who Charlie loved so much in return. These people have expressed the worry that we are staying silent out of cowardice or as some sort of tacit admission that some of the attacks are true. Neither is the case. Our silence has never been, and it will never be, equal to complacency or approval. Still, we decided Charlie would not allow this to go on. Charlie was not a coward. Charlie was a fighter. Charlie would not allow someone to spread lies about the people closest to him with impunity. And he would feel ashamed if other people were stepping up to defend his friends while he never did so himself. Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. At this point, we believe the ball is back in her court. Our motivation for doing this is not out of any obligation to Candace. It is about honoring Charlie. We feel a deep responsibility to protect his legacy, his work, and the truth. I feel that. I owe Charlie everything in my life. I feel it immensely. And that is why we feel compelled to speak clearly and openly now. We'll have more on this in the near future.
I mean, I think that's a response. Candace Owens have kicked back, and she's smiling from ear to ear, grinning, saying, come on, I'll come on the show.
All right, you guys, it's happening. It's happening. Everybody stay calm. After yesterday's episode where we went kind of for the jugular with Turning Point USA, because really I think everybody in the entire world has had enough with the non-response, trying to move on, trying to gaslight us, not answering basic details. So we just went for it. And guess what? Turning Point has moved to formally respond to all the things that we have said. And after a very long diatribe in which they wildly misrepresent the public and global investigation of Charlie Kirk's assassination, they at long last issued a public invitation or a challenge. I'm not sure what it is, but I accept, okay? Quite literally, all we have ever asked for were sensible answers to our basic questions about what transpired on September 10th. And it looks like we're going to get those things. So Major, major win. I am excited.
Now, they can defend themselves. I don't need to defend Candace's arguments. I don't need to really talk about her arguments. I don't need to defend Turning Point USA. I don't see Tucker Carlson defending Turning Point USA. I don't see none of these other people defend. I don't need to defend them. They are going to have an opportunity to defend themselves in front of the world. Now, y'all know how I feel about the whole thing. I can say it right here, and to me, it's nothing. Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson, a deranged nut job, and the FBI got so much investigation or so much information or evidence that it's a cut and dry case. This is an open and shut case. Now, only people who are either deranged, influenced by money, bumped their head when they woke up, somehow think it's some mysterious plot that Turning Point USA was involved in this. I mean, just put your thinking cap on for 1 minute. Do you really think Andrew wanted Charlie Kirk dead? Why would he want Charlie Kirk dead? His job is over. Where's Andrew going to do now? Everything in Turning Point USA, all those people that people have accused of having something to do with his death, they have no career outside of Charlie Kirk. He was everything to Turning Point. As you can tell, he was holding everything together. And they want him to die, so they what? They get exposed and get in trouble and have no career, no podcast. You guys be crazy to think somebody. And what time do people have to coordinate that kind of stuff? Everybody that I know that work for Turning Point, they love Charlie Kirk. I love Charlie. Everybody loves Charlie. Ain't nobody trying to get him killed except these crazy leftists. Now, Turning Point USA is going to have their time. And I hope to God, if they're listening to me, Turning Point USA, if y'all listen to me, I know I could call some people, but y'all may watch this show. You cannot screw this up. If Candace Owens says yes, and she really go on your show, you need to get somebody to actually debate her. Don't get nobody that don't work for Turning Point. Don't get nobody that work for Turning Point that's the third or fourth man on the totem pole. If you're going to bring the big dog into your house, the one that got the #1 podcast, the one that's been throwing shade at y'all direction since Charlie Kirk before he was buried, you better get somebody that's qualified that work for Turning Point USA to have a real conversation with receipts. Y'all got 35 people in there working. Y'all could be looking at everything she said on her podcast since day one, and you got to have a clip ready, stats ready, debunkable. If you don't, this will be the end. I'm telling you right now, some people think that if a person is saying something, just avoid it. Charlie Kirk used to do that. Just avoid these people. That means avoid the little peons. You can't avoid the person at the top of the mountain. You gotta knock the bully off the top of the mountain if that's your priority. King David had to knock Goliath off. It was no talking and negotiating and trying to avoid him. And so if you think that she's wrong, if that's y'all's take, then you better be very qualified after challenging her to come on your show. Because right, wrong, or indifferent, Candace Owens sound right. Relatively speaking, she sound wrong to me in a lot of stuff, but she sound right to her audience and to probably a majority of America that's listening to her. So please don't come half-stepping and think that you're going to put somebody that was a third man on your show up to debate Candace Owens on stuff. It's not going to go well. I wish I'd done this 2 months ago, because the position that is putting Turning Point in is the first time that Turning Point is addressing this, they're addressing it with a guy that nobody knows who he is. He is not the executive producer. He's not the COO. He's not the CEO. I haven't heard of this guy. I ain't never heard of this guy. But, I guess he was on Charlie's show, and Charlie respect him a lot. He seemed like a smart guy. But y'all gonna have to get like Tyler, somebody who went with Turning Point from the very beginning, who has been accused. I'll tell y'all this. I'm gonna give you some advice. And I'm not trying to be biased. It kind of sounds biased right now. But get everybody that's been accused to join in on that conversation. Mikey, Now I'm gonna leave Erica out of it because if I had my wishes, if something happened to me when I die, my wife ain't working. She's not gonna be CEO. She'll nothing. She'll be telling y'all what to do from the couch with bow in her hand. She's not gonna be up in no studio listening to nobody. She's not gonna be dealing with y'all. And to be honest, my wife, I would have to somebody need to take her Instagram down because my wife would be probably cussing and acting a fool. Somebody say something crazy about me. But I think we can exclude Erica from this because I love Charlie and I want to protect his wife. Leave her out of this. She don't need to be talking to nobody. She don't need to be trying to explain herself to nobody. Y'all can go to you know where. If you're going to try to put her in the middle of this, her husband died. She got these babies to take care of. Leave her out of it. But for everybody else, everybody that was accused, Turk, Mikey, Andrew, not Terrell, he's a video guy, but some of these other people that's been accused, not Mikey, Rob McCoy, I would like to see everybody on the panel to address these issues. Nobody's escaping. Nobody's hiding somewhere where it appears that somebody's hiding. Everybody's out in the open. And then if Candace shows up, it'll be Candace having to explain or prove her point against all of these people that she said did X, Y, Z. That's if you don't do that, it's going to be hard for people like me and others who love Turning Point USA to try to keep defending it. Because the fact that Andrew, and I know Andrew may be traveling or something, but I wish that they would have waited to Andrew to get back on the show because he was the executive producer. He is the spokesperson of Turning Point USA. He the man on the show that Charlie is down. And so I would have liked to hear these things come from him. It has more gravity. It has more weight instead of a guy who, I don't even know what his involvement with Turning Point other than being on that show. But there needs to be a panel of people to discuss this because if Candace don't show up, it would be good for people that love Turning Point to hear your side of it, to hear Mikey McCoy, to hear Rob McCoy explain through some of these conspiracies that are out there. Some of the security guys, I know that they probably let go of the contractor team, but the head of security, they're still there. Speak to some of the things. And then when you guys do that, the world has a decision to make because now they've heard the truth. And then, or from your perspective, which I believe has got to be the truth. I believe what Turning Point is saying a little bit more. And then they can make a decision from there. But the thing that you don't want to do, and this is not just for Turning Point, it's for anybody that's ever going to combat lies. You cannot just let the fire burn. My dad, retired firefighter, 40-some years. I think of my dad every time I think of him fighting fires when we were growing up. If you got a fire on just say it was a box on fire in the middle of the street, you can let that burn out. When your house is on fire, you might need to let the fire department put the fire out because it's going to go out one of two ways. The firefighters will come professionally put the fire out, make sure there's no embers that can start a fire up again, or you let the fire burn until it burns out. The professionals putting the fire out nips it in the bud. You letting it burn till it burn out, your house is gone. And then it's going to burn down 3-4 other houses on the street. And then it's going to be ashes. The fire is out, but there's ashes and nothing is left. And so I just want to say this because I love Turning Point USA. I love Charlie. And I have always been committed to fighting for what's right. I think Turning Point is doing the right thing. I will fight to no end to have Charlie's legacy continue because I think he was a good man. Charlie was my family member. Charlie was my brother in the flesh, my brother in Christ. But my goodness, man, I used to talk to Charlie face to face. And I said, whatever you need, I got your back. And I knew Charlie knew that he could trust me. That's why he would have me speak all around the country when he couldn't do stuff. Brandon, can you go speak? He had me tour campus 2 years in a row. It was me and him on campus 2 years in a row. Why? Because he trusts me. And so when the man dies, he should be able to trust me after he's dead. He should be able to trust that B. Tatum looked me in my face and said that he support me and that he got my back. And that means I got his back, and that means I got his wife's back. And that means that his legacy, I got his legacy's back. Or you guys should tune out, listen to me, because I'm fake. Anybody that ever said that they love Charlie and they're willing to destroy him, destroy his reputation, I don't think they really loved him. There's a difference between loving the idea of being friends with Charlie or loving the idea of what Charlie represented versus saying, bro, I got your back. And this will be a tell sign, and I'm going to get off here. But when I die, because everybody's going to die at some point, hopefully I die when I'm old. But when I die, I would love to be looking down from heaven and saying, I knew he would have my back when I died. I knew they'll hold down the fort. I knew when they said to me in person, and I gave them my word, that they gave me their word, that they were going to fulfill the promises that I had on earth. I knew I could trust in them. I looked down and smiled at them. Versus looking down and watch people tear my whole stuff up. Stuff that I built all these years and put my life on the line and died over, watching them tear it all down. I just want that to be said. I got to get to another event. Matter of fact, I'm here in Dallas, and we are going to celebrate the Stork Bus. So all of you guys who helped us raise the money for the Stork Bus, it is officially rolling around the streets here in Dallas. We're gonna do the ribbon cutting ceremony, and that's why I'm here. And shout out to TBN for giving me the studio and let me do it. This is crazy in here. I wish I could do a pan. Y'all lose y'all mind. Y'all see how beautiful this place is. Matter of fact, I might move to Texas. Y'all hear that, Nick? Nick, I'm sorry. Y'all ready? Y'all gonna relocate with me? We're gonna move to Texas because I want to come up in here and have this studio like this. Not saying that mine ain't good, because y'all do y'all best, man, and we killing it. But this is pretty nice. All right, I love you guys. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, The Officer Tatum Show. Also subscribe to my Substack. That's where I write all the articles. Man, we got over 11,000 people following that thing, and it's almost a 12,000. So shout out to y'all. We got almost 1,000 people subscribed to Freedom Chat. So get on Freedom Chat. Encrypted conversation, end-to-end encryption from you to your mama and them if you want to talk that way, or if you want to follow your favorite people on Freedom Chat, you can follow us, you can comment. And let me just tell y'all this real quick. This is a company that I believe in. This is a company that I invest in. This is a company that's going to make a difference in the world. I'm telling you. I know the inner workings. I know what's coming soon. And this is going to replace all those other fake encrypted chat companies, all the places that they steal your data and sell it to people and all of those crazy stuff. Go with a company that believes in your values. Download Freedom Chat today. One more thing. I said I was going to stop. If you are interested in supporting us to get children whose parents are incarcerated Christmas gifts, we do it every year. We help over 2,000 kids every single year. But this year, we got to do it bigger. Our goal is 2,500 kids. We got to blow that out of the water. We're going to blow Angel Tree's socks off. 2,500 kids is lightweight. We're going to help as many kids as possible. If you want to support, go to the link in the description section. It's angeltree.com/Tatum, angeltree.com/Tatum. And if you want to be a part of the 300 Club, that means that God has given you or blessed you with the financial capability of supporting 300 kids. Join me. My family's going to do it. All of my friends that I'm going to call on the phone, see if they got it. Let's get it. 300 kids each. And if you do that and you become a part of 300 Club, you're going to come to Phoenix, Arizona with me. We're going to go to a steakhouse. We're going to have a good time. We're going to smoke some cigars. We're going to have an incredible time. And we would have helped so many young people get gifts for Christmas, get the gospel of Jesus Christ, and hear a message from their parent who's been incarcerated. I said I was going to stop. One more thing. I went to the prison in Phoenix, Arizona, and I talked to some of the women in there who work with Angel Tree. It makes a difference. I'm telling you guys, literally tears in my eyes, listening to the moms talk about how they connect with their children and they get the gifts that they can never give them. And we are able to provide that for them. All right. So I love you guys. See y'all in the next one. I'm out of here.
Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my